Hi third graders, Miss Ohms here. We're here today to do area day 4. Grab your computer, let's go.
Area day 4, decomposing figures to find the area. So today we're going to be using Google Slides, and if you go to my school, you're going to have an assignment called area day 4. And if not, you can follow along with a piece of paper and a pencil. So our math routine today, you're going to be thinking, what is the area? We're going to break it down a little bit. So first I want you to think, what is the area of rectangle 1? And I want you to think, I think the area of rectangle 1 is because, and when you figure that out, then I want you to try, what is the area of rectangle 2? What is the area of rectangle 2? And I want you to say, I think the area of rectangle 2 is because, and you're going to explain how you know. And finally, when you're finished, I want you to think, what is the area of figure B? Figure B is the red rectangle plus the yellow rectangle. So rectangle 1 plus rectangle 2. What's the total area of figure B? So we've been learning about area, and we're going to review just so we know. Area is the number of unit squares that cover the surface of a closed figure. So area is measured in square units. So one of those squares is 1 square unit. So how do we measure the area? We learned that we can measure the area by counting the squares if we can see them. We've learned that we can multiply to find the area as well. Length times width equals area. And we can decompose, which means we can break rectangular figures into smaller rectangles to find the area. We're going to keep working on decomposing to find the area. And we just talked about that. That's when we break a rectangular figure, a bigger figure, or a rectangle that's more complex into smaller rectangles to find the area. So step 1. We decompose. We break the rectangle into smaller rectangles. And like we learned before, sometimes we can't always see the squares. If we're measuring the area of a field, we might not be able to see the squares. There's no squares on the grass. So we need to figure it out using what we know. Step 2. Identify the area of rectangle 1 using multiplication. If you notice that there's 3 numbers inside that orange box I have there, and we need to make sure we're using the right numbers. The length is the longest side, so that's the 6. The width is the shorter side. So we need to make sure we're using the right one, because one of those side lengths is not the one we're going to use. This one is the one we're not going to use. So then we have 6 times 2, and that gets us 12 square feet. So the area of rectangle 1 is 12 square feet. Step 3. Identify the area of rectangle 2 using multiplication. So remember, we're still multiplying the length times the width. And if we look at the 8 feet, that 8 feet actually tells us the whole bottom, which is part of the blue and part of the yellow. So that's actually not the one we're going to use to help us find the area of rectangle 2. The length of rectangle 2 is 6 feet, and the width is 4 feet. So we'd multiply 6 times 4 to get 24 square feet. Step 4. Add the areas of rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 together to find the area of the whole figure. So we found the area of rectangle 1. That was 12 feet. We did that on step 2. On step 3, we found the area of rectangle 2, which was 24 feet. And for us to find the total area of the whole figure, we need to add them. So we're going to add 12 square feet plus 24 square feet to get 36 square feet. And that tells us the area of the whole figure, or the green one that's circled, which is the same as the blue and the yellow. We are going to do one together. We're going to decompose to find the area of this figure C. So remember, the area is the number of unit squares that cover the surface of a closed figure. In this closed figure that we're using, we can't see the squares. So that tells us that we need to use multiplication to help us find the areas. So our first step, and we talked about this, is we break the rectangular figure into smaller rectangles. I already did this step for you. See, there's the blue rectangle and the yellow rectangle. So your job is to help me figure out the area of the smaller rectangles. So we're figuring out the area of rectangle 1, which is the blue, and we're figuring out the area of rectangle 2, which is the yellow. And this is going to help us find the area of the whole figure, or the whole thing, or figure C. Step 2. Identify the area of rectangle 1 using multiplication. So we need to figure out which side lengths represent the length and the width. So when we look at that blue rectangle, we see that one side length is 4 and the other side length is 4. So then our length and our width are actually the same. So I want you to think for a second, what is the area of rectangle 1? Remember, we're multiplying the length times the width. I think the area of rectangle 1 is because the area of rectangle 1 is 16 square inches. So I multiplied the length, which is 4 inches, and the width, which is also 4 inches, and I know that 4 times 4 is 16 square inches. Step 3. Identify the area of rectangle 2 using multiplication. So which side lengths represent the length and the width? So the longest side, that's the length. So on that yellow rectangle, which side is the longest? Well, I think it's the 8 inches because that is the longest side on that rectangle. Now, which is the width? It's not the 1 because that 1 represents that tiny little side over there. And that 3 on the top as well, that's not the side. So it's not that one, and it's not that one. And actually, it doesn't matter which of the other 3s we use. There are 2 3s there, we just need to use one of them. Alright, so then I have my side lengths, my length and my width, and I need to multiply. So what is the area of rectangle 2? I think the area of rectangle 2 is because... So the area of rectangle 2 is 24 square inches because I know that 8 times 3 is 24. Step 4. Add the areas of rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 together to find the area of the whole figure. So we figured out that the area of rectangle 1 was 16 square inches. The area of rectangle 2 was 24 square inches. So then we add them. 16 plus 24 is 40 square inches. Here are some good websites to continue your math learning. If you go to my school, you can do iReady Math, Extra Math. If you want extra practice, you can do Khan Academy, ABC Yeah, or Prodigy. All right, stay tuned for Perimeter Day 1.
Okay, stay tuned for Perimeter Day 1 next week. See you then.